Gabby press commentary on ZeroHedge article about Marco Rubio's description of the threat to white Western civilization. Rubio's stark warning that Europe risks wiping out 2,000 years shared cultural values of Western civilization. December 23, 2025. Gabby press commentary that the cultural differences in the United States have reached a point of no return. Gabby press introduction to Rubio's warning. Hernando de Soto examined the political and cultural issues surrounding why economies in white Western civilization had higher levels of individual prosperity than other types of societies. In his book, The Mystery of Capital, Why Capitalism Triumphs in the West and Fails Everywhere Else, de Soto explained that legal factors explained why some countries succeed in capitalism while others do not. De Soto placed the main reason for the differences between societies on the variable of secure legal property rights in Western cultures. De Soto argues that the key factor is the government's protection of property rights and enforcement of contract law, rather than cultural differences. Gabby press disagrees with de Soto's conclusion. The most important variable in explaining the difference between nations is not formal legal property rights, which chronologically comes after what James Buchanan calls the pre-constitutional state. In the pre-constitutional state, citizens develop fair constitutional rules because citizens share common cultural values, like trust and honesty. Citizen agreement on fair constitutional rules promote voluntary citizens' allegiance to obey the informal rule of law. Social obedience to the rule of law allows citizens to trust each other in financial decisions, which allows white Western economies to reinvest profits, which creates future economic growth. Black African cultural values, Middle East Muslim values of Sharia, and Asian collectivist values, are not based upon individualistic values where citizens trust each other to be honest in economic transactions. In those non-Western societies, the appearance of a constitution would not change the cultural values of dishonesty, any more than the former Soviet constitution facilitated honest market exchange in the totalitarian, collectivist Soviet society. There is only one, historically exclusive set of cultural values where capitalism succeeds because citizens agree to obey the rule of law. That society is the white Western culture of individualism. The better explanation of why some societies succeed in capitalism is based upon the cultural differences in an individualistic culture and a collectivist culture, which views individuals as a part of collectivist group or tribe. Gabby press introduction to ZeroHedge article, Rubio's stark warning that Europe risks wiping out 2,000 years of shared Western civilization moral values. Rubio correctly identifies the importance of white Western cultural values in his speech about the disintegration of European society. Rubio cites the erosion of core values and the shared culture binding the West together. In the prior 2,000-year European history, the nation-states were built upon the concept of individual liberty and citizen democratic self-governance. In the current European transition to totalitarian collectivism, Rubio cited the globalist policies fueling mass migration and assaults on free speech. Rubio emphasized that the United States was founded on Western values such as the principles of liberty, individualism, and self-governance, noting that many of these ideas that led to the founding of our country found their genesis in some of these places in the Western Alliance. Where, in the world, do people trust each other most? It is not an economic accident that the European nations with the highest degree of citizen trust are also the nations with the highest rates of economic growth and social prosperity. Tyler Durden quotes research by Bruno Venditti from The Visual Capitalist, which describes the top Western nations where citizens trust each other. The data for this visualization comes from the Pew Research Center. The Pew Research is based on nationally representative surveys of more than 37,000 adults conducted in early 2025. Northern European countries dominate the top of the ranking of citizen trust. Sweden leads the list, with 83% of respondents saying most people can be trusted. The Netherlands follows closely at 79%, while Canada and Germany both exceed 70%. High levels of trust make cooperation easier, reducing friction in economic and civic life. It is not an accidental economic coincidence that the nations with the highest levels of citizen trust are also the nations with the highest rates of social and economic prosperity. Gabby press commentary and analysis on white Western civilization moral values. De Soto got part of his story right when he connected the dots between high rates of capital reinvestment from capital gains to high rates of economic growth. As Gabby Press explains in Chapter 10 of Beneficial Economics, the moral values of an individualistic society allow both the entrepreneur and venture capitalist to trust each other, over a long period of time, to obtain their respective future benefits from the investment. Trust and honesty come first, in the pre-constitutional rule-setting era, from shared cultural values, in the case of the United States, from the values of 1776, commonly called the spirit of liberty, or the spirit of 76. In the post-constitutional era, shared moral values lead to the emergence of social benefits because all citizens believe that they have an equal opportunity to obtain future prosperity. Excerpt from Chapter 10 of Beneficial Economics, Self-Managed Regional Securities Markets where citizens manage their own regional economic growth. Quote, the regional securities market self-management model. In the model of self-management of the regional securities market, beneficial economic order emerges when the regional securities market provides a pathway for capital gains from exit events to be continuously reinvested in the region. Our model of regional securities market self-management begins with a description of the entire sequence of events in managing the capital market deal flow that precedes a capital investment in a new technology venture. End quote. The Gabby Press Red State Citizen Solution to the Democrats' Cultural Terrorism. We begin our argument about beneficial economics from the premise that the government has failed the citizens. The ideological differences between citizens in red states and citizens in blue states are irreconcilable. The best, most peaceful solution is civil dissolution, and red states starting over, at 1776, with a new constitution for red state citizens. Black African culture, Muslim Sharia law, and Chinese communist collectivism are all engaged in a war of cultural terrorism against white Western moral values of red state citizens. Those social groups are engaged in a covert guerrilla war to eradicate white Western values of individualism in order to insert collectivist globalist values. Rubio and Trump are right to target the cultural enemies within, and the erosion of shared values with European nation-states. The path forward for red state citizens. We offer red state citizens the solution to the threat of blue state communist cultural terrorism in our book Beneficial Economics. We explain how red state citizens can craft a better, more fair, constitution that places citizen liberty and prosperity in the preamble, as the goal of the new nation. We explain that red state citizens have a God-given natural right to abolish this failed government, and start over, at 1776, to craft a better constitution for red state citizens. We believe that it is the moral responsibility of red state citizens to create this new, and more fair nation. The U.S. Cavalry is not coming to rescue red state citizens from the left's cultural terrorism, and the U.S. Army is not going to save the European Union from self-inflicted cultural suicide. About Gabby Press. Gabby is short for the Great American Business and Economics Press. Gabby is the imprint publisher of books and blogs about topics related to American economic liberty and how fair constitutional rules create mutually beneficial financial outcomes for middle and working class citizens. Our website offers an educational gathering place for ordinary common red state citizens to prepare for the urgent issues that confront the economic and political reality in the U.S. today. Buy our books direct from us at our website, www.gabbypress.com.